Back. It's been a minute since we've seen
Too
you,
long,
right?
too freaking long,
Too
bro.
long for you, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Talk us through that, and I know you had a little bit of an injury issue, right? So, I mean, how's
yeah.
things now? Everything's all healed, ready to go.
Things great now, man. It was a small injury. It was just more the timing of the injury. It was freaking two days before I was flying out for my fight in Ireland. So it wasn't nothing that big. It was just something I couldn't perform with in 2 days after. So
Sure. Before that, it had been a little bit too since we'd seen. I mean, you were pretty active a couple years ago, and now I think one fight a year for the last couple years. So, for a guy like you who's been around for a bit, is that a frustrating thing? And sort of how do you work your way through that on the mental side of the fight game?
yeah, absolutely. Trying to keep the mind sharp because it is frustrating, man. I was just talking to Big John and saying that's the biggest goal of this year is to fight multiple times. I'm not trying to fight once a year. I'm not in this just to do it every once in a while. This is my life, you know. So a couple setbacks, couple injuries, you know, and I feel like that hasn't allowed me to quite get on a roll. You know, I've been stepping in once a year for the last few years now, and hasn't allowed me to, you know, I quite focus on just training and stepping in there all the time. I'm focusing on recovery and things like that. So this year's going to be a big one. It's going to be a healthy one.
I mean, there's only so much you can do once a year, right? I mean, you can't get on that kind of a roll. You can string wins together, but is it a matter of kind of people forgetting that you're out there if it's only once a year?
Exactly. You just don't get on a roll. You know, the MMA community can be a little, let me say, they forget easily and quickly.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're stepping in there once a year, that's not reminding them who you are. I feel like every time I come back, I'm like, I got to remind these people who I am. I got to remind them what I do. You know, not just me. You know, to myself, to the people that know me, just remind everybody what kind of person I am.
Talk about the opportunity then, I guess, this week to be able to remind people of that when you're in a co-main event slot against a guy who's been around the block a little bit, been in the other organization, you know, kind of a big name.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a name I asked for. I thought it was a great matchup. He's got a big name, you know, and I feel like it's one of those fights that, you know, when I go out there and I demonstrate what I can do, it really can skyrocket me up there and show who Brandon Girtz is. You know, like I said, he's a good name. He's been around. He was in the top 10 before. He's been around the block. You know, so a win like that and you know what I'm looking for, a devastating win, it's puts my name up there real quick.
Talk a little bit about what he brings to the table, I guess, and what you've seen out of his recent fights. I know he hasn't had an easy run his last three or so. You know, they kind of threw him straight into a big fight as soon as he got here. So are you a guy who looks at film? Did you go back and look at any of his tendencies in his past few fights? Or do you let other people do that and you just take what he gives you when you get in there?
I mean, I've definitely seen some of his film, you know, and I've said before, I look at him as a point fighter. You know, he likes to get in that rhythm. He likes to play the distance, you know, but he can also take it to the ground. You know, as we've seen, he's pretty 50-50 there. I'm not someone that gets taken down, you know, so I think you see that would be my advantage. If he's not liking the strike and he wants to take me down, I usually punish people that want to try to do that.
I mean, your preference would be get into a little bit of a brawl and make things a little bit dirty, I think, wouldn't it be?
That's my style. You know, I've never been the taller guy in a fight. You know, and to do that, you get inside and you make the stuff dirty. You know, I've told people before. You know, there's a difference between a martial artist and a fighter, and I've always considered myself a fighter. You know, when push comes to shove, I come to push.
We did talk a little bit about the sort of the frequency with which you've been able to be in there, but a big win on Friday gives you 3 out of 4, right? And it does give you some momentum. It's against a big name. I guess talk about the opportunity then that you really have, you know, looking forward for the rest of this year, you know, with what a win can do for you in the division.
Absolutely, I look at it as a huge win. You know, he's a big name. You know, he's been on a little bit of a slide, but that doesn't change who he is. He's still a good fighter. You know, and if I can get in a few fights this year, I feel like I'm looking right there at the, you know, title contention. You know, I've been in this organization for damn near 7-8 years now. You know, I've been around. This is homegrown. You know, I'm a homegrown Bellator fighter. You know, so and I think that's going to show in this fight, and I think that's why. You also always see me in either co-main or main events. You know, I bring the action. You know, I bring fights that people want to watch, and I'm going to continue to do that.
If you had an ideal way to get it done on Friday, what would it be? I mean, I know it's hard for you guys to say that you want to go out and look for a knockout, that kind of thing, because sometimes that doesn't come, and maybe can be a little bit more dangerous when you are looking for it. But
I mean, I don't necessarily look for the knockout, but I'm looking for the finish, however that comes. I'm looking to hurt my opponent. I'm looking to make him stop as fast as soon as possible. I'm not dragging it out. I ain't pointing it out. I ain't even thinking about round 2. I ain't thinking about round 3. I step out there every minute, every second I'm out there. I'm looking to put the guy away. That's how I fight. If it's a tap out, if you look at my earlier fights, I tapped everybody out. You know, I threw my hands and then they were scared, and then I put them on the ground. And I tapped them out. It's going to be the same here. You know, I don't care if it's a knockout. I don't care if it's a submission. But what I am looking to do is put them away and put them away fast.